Here we are back, Bernhard. Our first hands-on video, right?
Yeah, correct. So in this video, we are going to download the image from the Azure Marketplace onto our Azure Stack HCI. And but before we do that, let me first, have a look at the prerequisites. So it's some prerequisites also on that web page. You see them listed here. First of all, you need to have a valid Azure subscription. Okay, no-brainer. Your Azure Stack needs to be registered. And then we also do need to have an Azure Active Directory synced with AD. And let's check that, Carsten. So we're with the people, look or search that up.
Okay, I switch to my screen. So here we see Windows Admin Center in
Correct.
the version 2306. So it maybe has already changed when you watch this video. That's the problem if you do IT, everything is changing always. So here we see in the dashboard, we see that we have a registration is connected and our services, but there's also another view here under Azure Arc in this version. You see we are registered and also Arc enabled.
Okay,
so this
perfect. So
the first requirement. Then I'm here in Azure, and you see under Azure Active Directory, I opened the Azure Active Directory, you see the Azure AD Connect is enabled.
Okay.
And then I went to users, but I opened it already. And you see here, we have two users synced here. There are some more, but I used the filter, and you see Bernhard is synced and I'm synced. So we both can later use Azure Virtual Desktop to log into our published resources.
Okay.
So
yeah,
now
that's
we have
good.
to get our image, right? And we get a special one.
Yeah, I mean, we could use a Windows Server image, right, which you might have on an ISO stored somewhere. But one of the benefits from Azure Virtual Desktop is the use of a Windows 11 multi-session image, so a client operating system that you could use to simultaneously allow multiple users to use it for better use of the underlying resources. And for that, you need to do a little bit of PowerShell, or PowerShell helps to make things easier. And you could see it on my GitHub repository. So Carsten, type in aka.ms/bfrank.
You see it here. And if you go there.
Yes, there is a repository which is called AZ Stack HCI.
This one?
Yep. And there is an AVD section on directory for AVD. And it doesn't contain too much. It's only having, some things and this description of the steps that we need to do. And there's also, for some of the steps, there is a PowerShell code snippet. So if you scroll down for step number 1.
This step?
Yes.
We go down here. Here it is.
And there's the PowerShell code I was referring to. So if you click on the copy to clipboard button, yes. And then open up a PowerShell ISE window.
Or code.
Yep, or code.
But I'm an old guy, so I prefer ISE.
Yeah.
I'm not a programmer anymore.
So depending on the system, I'm not quite sure. I mean, if you have already the PowerShell modules installed that are required for administrating Azure, so it checks for that. If you have, the step will be omitted. However, the delicate piece is step number, yes. So you have it, I think, on your list as well. So let's see.
So I will just run it and it will do nothing. Okay.
Okay, that was quick. Now do the login, line number 12, please, and see what happens. Okay, so That could be the case on your system as well, right? So if you're working for an enterprise and have a subscription, they might require you to use multi-factor authentication, right? Which is not possible through that dialog. So the easiest thing would be to use device authentication, and the code snippet is already in here. So could you please uncomment the use device authentication?
I will do that, but first I have multiple tenants, and that's a problem here too, right? So I
So
take this
if you
one.
want, I mean, if you want to pre-specify the tenant to be used for your Azure subscription or for the login, then you could do so. The code snippet is in there already, but I think it should do as well. So if you would just run this.
So I have to go to a web browser.
Correct. The behavior changes. You need to open up the browser. Could be a different browser, could be a different session. So just drop it in there, right? You are missing the N at the end. Didn't copy everything.
Unbelievable. I didn't copy it.
No worries. Then enter the code or copy and paste it.
So I'm already logged in.
Yeah.
So German.
No.
Sorry for that.
Yeah. So no further MFA required as you're logged in that session already. But if you would have done it somewhere else, it might have prompted you for a multi-factor. Okay. So I think this user has multiple Azure subscriptions, right? And we need to have one of it.
Yeah.
Right. So this is line number.
And we are in the wrong one.
Okay. So let's run line number 15 to select the right one. Okay. There you go. Maybe I'll blur out some of the stuff. So please choose the correct subscription. Okay. Hit OK. And now the script will, now you can run the other part of the script as a in total. You don't need to.
Really? You want to be?
Yeah, let's try. Let's try.
All of it, or let's go. Let's be cautious. Only this.
Okay. No, that's okay then. Okay, let's. So it's setting now the Azure context using the subscription you've just chosen, and now we are selecting the location because we are about to download a marketplace image. And the marketplace images that are available are sort of defined for the different regions. So North Europe might have different or not everything that West Europe has. So choose an Azure site that is close to you and which is a major site with a huge data center presence. And that would be West Europe in our case.
I choose that.
Okay. Then the next thing, yeah.
Yeah, so you can explain the script a little bit if we just send it off, maybe have the problem. So what are you doing here?
Yeah,
not that there are some nice commands here and you can just read it, right?
Yeah. Azure has a lot of image publishers. So if you can run if you want. You can
only
run
this
the
one,
script.
you think?
No. Take all of it, right? I mean, it will explain the stuff. Azure has a lot of images available, right? And these come from different people. So I probably could also upload an image and make it publicly available for other people to use. Hence, we need to define or choose the right maker of the image, right? Which is, in our case, Microsoft as provider for that Windows 11 multi-session. So please run it.
So I will run this one, and then here we do some things with the image, right?
Correct. So yes, so we select, the maker, which is could be difficult because, as you see here, that's a lot of people uploading images from. That could be third parties, right, for their appliances. So type in, please, as suggested in the headline, Microsoft Windows Desktop. No, it's in there. So if you read Microsoft, it's in the title of that window, Microsoft Windows Desktop. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And there
Here it is.
just, yeah, let's see. That's good. That's looking good. Okay, take that one. Next one would be the offering, right? So Microsoft has a lot of images and they put it into different offers. And that's a little bit tricky because you need to know which kind of offering you choose, right? So we could, be tempted to use Windows 11, but that would be the Windows 11 without the Office applications, right? And for AVD, it might be useful for the remote desktop workers, right, in order to have Office pre-installed and optimized, because in a multi-session environment, some things in the installation might be a little bit different. Yes. So choose Office 365. Yes. And underneath, you have the different operating system versions, right? So could be Windows 10, could be Windows 11. And there we are choosing the latest one, which would be Windows 11. And also we take, one of the latest builds, which is 22H2 at that time.
Yeah.
Let's take that
and
one.
We have to remind you, depending on when you watch this video, there will be maybe a lot of different images here, right? So we have to choose one that is similar to the one we choose. We choose Windows 11 multi-user so that's with the AVD, I guess, and then we have Office 365 installed. You see that with M365, right?
Yeah.
So I click enter now.
Yeah, that's good. And
there is more. There are versions.
Yes. Microsoft updates these versions, right? Which is good because you don't have to update all of these update packages. So this number will definitely change by the time when you are watching this. And I will always choose the latest one, right? You don't want to install all the updates, but this one would be my preferred choice. As this
I assume this is the date of the generation of the image, so that would be 23 July the 11th, right? I guess.
Yeah, could be it.
Could be. Or it's just a random number combination. So I take this.
Yeah, okay. So now we have, pre-filled the variables. So, but we can't download the image right away. We need to make a copy of it, and the copy would be a disk, right? So, we create a disk that has, that is pre-filled with that image selection that we did. And we put that disk into our Azure subscription, into a resource group, and that's the remaining part of that script. So if you could run this one.
I choose this. The resource group was asked for. I don't remember.
No, that will come.
It's coming. It's coming.
Okay. So which resource group do you want to?
This one, so we should use this one.
Okay, good. So if you hit OK, you should now get a disk after some time. If you would open up your Azure subscription now and would browse to that resource group, you should see a disk.
Let me see. Here's the group. Because our Azure Stack HCI cluster is registered in the group. Here it is. So.
Okay, and that might take. Yes, so do a refresh of the browser, please.
The browser or just the page?
Well, try either
First
way.
The page, if nothing happens, the browser. Yeah, there is it.
Okay,
here we have
so see, now this disk needs to be downloaded, right? And you could do it either by clicking on the disk and then going into properties. So if you would do that, for example, right, there is a disk export functionality under settings.
Under settings.
Yeah, a little bit down. Disk export, one
properties,
down. One up.
There.
So this would, generate a URL, a temporary download link that you could use for, downloading that disk, right? But I also have a script for that, which, you could use for doing it. So either hit the download button there, or, just load up the second script.
Let me see where we were.
Yeah.
So tell us something. It's a little bit special. The Azure disks are quite large, right? The images.
Yeah. So yes, and that's the tricky part of it, right? So the Azure is not working with dynamical disks for these images, right? At the moment, it might change, but so usually the size of the image is defined by, or the size of the disk is defined by the image, right? And initially, the people mostly do a 128 or 127 gigabyte size of disk, and we need to download it as a whole, right? And therefore, I need to do it most efficient, right? And I found out that AZ Copy is the most efficient way of downloading, or most performant way of downloading these kind of images from the Azure Marketplace, or doing data copy operations with Azure, right? It's maintained. It's a cool way of dealing with large amounts of data. It's resilient, and therefore I'm using it. And I'm also temporarily downloading AZ Copy on your system for doing this job, and then removing it, after that. So it's, a small, tiny zip file which can be downloaded from Azure. The only thing which we need to feed in here is line number 6, because you don't want to download it on one system and then copying it over to another system using a small network link. So it would be cool to place it directly on one of the nodes of your cluster, right? So, but doing so, maybe you just do a copy and paste of the folder that you have there and see if you can reach the server using that destination that you currently have.
Yeah, I think there is no temp directory. Yeah. So we have to make one. And now the dir should work. There's nothing in there. So now we have it.
So that's,
are you there?
okay. Yeah. So that's on the server, right? And you can access it, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
So now we can.
Yeah. So let's run and see if it works, right?
How does it know which disk it is?
Okay. Yeah. Sorry for this. So I
think this has to be filled somehow, right?
Yeah. So it should have, the disk should be still in the new disk, right? So if you would run this variable, right? So if you go there.
Yeah, there should be something in it. We just did it. Yeah, there is it. Okay.
And now that's
so you have to do the first script and then the second one. So I could also copy and paste it, not in a new window.
Yeah,
I could put it down here, right? Okay.
Yeah, good point. I mean, you need to have the same Azure login context, right, that we were using before, right? So it's now creating that temporary download URL, and it will, sort of create that thing. Takes a while.
Yeah, we have to wait.
Yeah. And then I would, run that part as in total. I don't want to, would not run it line by line, as it would take too long, I would say.
Okay.
And I can.
So now we have it. Oh, we can get. I have to undo this.
Yeah, copy the whole thing and execute it. Yeah. Okay, good. So now, it has the token, it has the URL. It will download AZ Copy on the temp directory. It will then, instruct AZ Copy to download the VHD or the disk from Azure, and it would also tell the download speed, and there might be some 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 glitches in the network at some point in time, right? So you
so maybe our recording will suffer from the download, right?
Yeah, let's see. I mean, it's depending on your internet connections, right? So
no, we're doing local recording, and
yeah, no, all good. I mean, what you could do is have a look at the clusters temp file or temp directory and see if there's already some data there, right? I mean, as you could see here, your network is relatively quite fast. So that's the
whole image,
the file,
but it's
and
not
the
filled
size.
yet.
Yes, so it's not yet filled. So we need to wait a little bit for this to download, and I think we'll speed up the video a little bit for this. In case you have problems with that, I know this script does not work with mapped drives. So if you use to map drives, it does not work with that script. You need to do the backslash notation for this to work, right? If you have other problems, AZ Copy will write a log file that you could use to troubleshoot the download stuff. It might be related to proxies, name resolution, or something else, or firewalls. However, that's a pure should be a pure web request for downloading that. However, efficient one, right? And I don't think that we're downloading all of the zeros or of the nulls that are in the VHDX file. From the disk in Azure. So I think it will be optimizing it. However, depending on your internet speed, that will take a while.
So what will we do after we have the image? Because we don't want our viewers to watch the next 70% of progressing here, right?
Yeah. So once this is done, right, we don't want to work with 127 gigabytes of files, right? Yeah. And therefore we optimize it, but that's a later video, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, we are almost done. Now let's see how long we are staying in 100%. How long the 100%
oh, it's done.
Okay, it's done. So let's have a look at the folder before we conclude or close this video. Okay.
It's the same, right? It's the same size as before, but now it's hopefully filled with something.
Hopefully filled, and it's VHD, right? This is maybe not the format we want and the size we want. Or what do you think, Carsten? Should we optimize that one?
Yes, we will optimize this one. And okay. So this will be done in the next video, right?
Correct. See you there.